Hey guys, my name is X Factor. Hope you're having a great day. Got to spend several hours playing the test server for PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. This is where the newest, greatest, best stuff is being tested before it's rolled out in live, sometimes going through several tweaks and mini patches before it comes to live. The first thing you need to know is this. The P18C is an absolute beast with a suppressor, red dot, and extended mag. It's basically a handheld SMG, which is extremely beneficial because the developers also tweaked the time in which pistols come off of your hip and into first person or third person ready to fire. It may make a difference now in the mid to late game, especially depending on what your loadout is. For instance, if you're using a car and maybe you have an M16, which can do burst fire but not full auto, you do have that P18 if you do grab it with an extended mag, which are pretty plentiful. Now you might be able to enter a building with that using the M16 for range targets and of course the car for medium to long. It actually really helps balance out some of the loadouts. The other thing we want to talk about is loot has changed. There are still massive clumps of loots. If you're on a group of ARs, more than likely you're going to find several. So if you see one M16, you might see an AK, you might see an M416. Same goes for optics. If you're on the optics table, you're going to see a lot of optics. And of course, meds. It's either you're on the meds or off the meds. But the one thing that did change is duplication. No longer will you roll up and see 3 identical pistols stacked on each other, or 3 M416s, or 3 AKs. But ammo is significantly different for ARs. It seemed like ARs were more balanced in the open world, but the ammo has been shrank. Instead of seeing several boxes of ammo, you might see one. That's pretty commonplace. A 30 count box instead of a 15, or a 30 and a 15 and a 15 is extremely common. So a lot of times you could fill up your mag. If you find an extended mag, you're not going to be able to fill that. And you really need to rely on a secondary and pick and choose your engagement distances. This really changes the early start of the game until you get into that later mid-game after you pick a kill or two. There's been several times that I dropped on military specifically with the hopes of a higher loot table to struggle to get enough ammo to be comfortable with my AR to walk across a field. Oftentimes I found myself with a dual AR setup such as AK and Scar L, which had a little bit of a reduced rate of fire, still extremely effective at close range, especially if you're on your shot, but primarily so you're splitting the ammo types. I found it extremely difficult several times that I had an AK and a car to have enough ammo for both. It's something, again, you couldn't just go picking people off with the AK at range, and you had to really pick and choose your shots with the car, or you'd simply go through your ammo. That was another change. Did you just see it? You could spam F and pick things up on the move. Your character goes through a silky smooth animation. It does not freeze you in place. Now, can you still tab drag? Absolutely. And it makes sense too, especially if there's a pile of goods or if you're on somebody's body, because you want to get what you need and not spam F and grab a bunch of crap that you don't need, taking up space. Most importantly, taking time. We talked about the red dot on the pistols. That is available. It's the same red dot that's in the game. You can't put the hollow on any pistol, so be certain to save some of those red dots. Now, it's not the same red dot that goes on your AR or your sniper rifle. It changes to a mini red dot that you saw in the earlier clip, and it is interchangeable with all your weapons. So if you throw it on your pistol of choice, you can always put it back on your assault rifle, or if you want to switch from ACOG to red dot, if you're going from mid-range into a house, that's always suggested. So if you see multiple red dots, if you are on the optics spawn, it's a good idea to hold on to a couple of them. Some other noticeable improvements seems to be frame rates. Now, keep this in mind. Bluehole may be testing new host, new server hardware, or of course, it might just be the client itself or a combination of all of them. What am I saying? It might not make it to live exactly as it is in test currently, because if they are testing new hardware upgrades or hosts, it might take a while for those changes to follow suit. That usually isn't something you just flip a switch when it comes to server hardware and away you go. But for the time being, it feels like I'm getting around a 10% to 15% boost in frame rates. Open field fights are getting north of 120 FPS. with 1080p resolution on my custom graphics setting, and people are reporting that they've seen a boost as well, especially in cities. Now, we had a moment playing alongside a level cap where frames were getting quite framey. We were getting sub 60 frames, and it was extremely hard and laggy to aim, partially because we were in Yasnaya, and of course, one of the last bubbles ended up there, and there was 20 plus people there. But for the most part, frames seem to be up across the board, and that's a good thing, because when it comes to a third-person or first-person shooter, you want that buttery smoothness and not to get that hardware lag kicking in, really determining the gunfights and not the skill. Now, what else comes with performance? How about hit registration and damage over time? We've seen it a million times. It's happened to you a ton. It's where you take damage late. You start to get in a gunfight. You know exactly where it's coming from. It's a guy in the C window looking at me. I get back under cover. Another shot hits, then another shot, then another shot, then down I go. Or the one-frame deaths from somebody with an M16 or AK at medium range where they're body shotting you and you just drop. Where it's no secret that the game has struggled with this since the launch of early access, it is feeling more crisp and snappy. For the most part, I took damage in a timely fashion, and of course, I could get out of trouble when I started to take that damage. There were 2 instances that were rather frustrating, but it was close quarter combat at the start of a round in military where it was popping off. Clearly behind cover and still dying from the person in front of me behind maybe a pallet or a doorway covered up as well. But for the most part, I died when I was supposed to die, I killed when I was supposed to kill, and it was far less frustrating than what live is right now. One of the things that could really get the blood boiling in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is the current tick rate, which could sink the game if improvements aren't continued to be made. Is it perfect? No. Is it acceptable? Depends on what games you play and what you're used to, but to me, they've got a long way to go, but it is a very good start. I'm also happy to report that audio cues seem to be at a decent level still. This is something that was boosted several patches ago, and now you could definitely pick people up if they're building or 2 away, if they're opening, closing doors, crouch walking, if they're in the 2nd story, rooftop. They all have different sounds, specifically if they're outside or if they're prone crawling around. It's extremely important to clue into those and know when not to talk when in a group, or if you're in solos, just stand still and gather more information before you decide to peek, or maybe you wait to peek because somebody might already have you lined up because you were just rustling around a couple seconds ago. While we get in the US, vehicle spawns have changed. They seem to be a bit more scattered across the world. There is no such thing as a hard spawn still. There is around a 30% chance or so of those vehicles being in garages, but now all the boats and vehicles face different directions. It's no longer a due east vehicle. So if you see a vehicle posted up facing west, that actually might be a fresh spawn. As you can see, we got a bridge troll, and it's time for me to reach into my pocket and pay that toll. I already mentioned this earlier, but the Scar L had a rate of fire change, and the UMP had an increase to its recoil. Overall, the game has pretty good weapon balance. And again, with ARs being a bit more evenly distributed, whether that's by design or, of course, them fixing a bug or 2, it's helpful. But when you kill somebody, make sure to grab their AR ammo, because that stuff is like gold right now. The PUBG team announced that they hired some statisticians a while back just to look at what's going on with the game, and more than likely this is one of their first changes that they've made, seeing people loaded up with AR ammo of all types, being able to play super defensively and sit back. This is one way to force the action and make the game a bit more lively, along with the Fat Shack or Fuckboy cabin change. You can now drive over them, shoot through them, grenade them. Basically anything else you can lob at them can take them down, or the bullets pass through. So there's a couple people huddled up. You can easily chew through it like Swiss cheese. Now, the concrete ones still are not destroyable, and of course, you don't want to be hiding there when the bombs start going off, but it can be useful in solos. I found myself shacking up there a couple times to get off a quick heal, maybe go through some ammo or loot that I just found or acquired thanks to dropping somebody, and move along. Is it going to be the meta so much? Probably not, but they will still come in handy. Sunset mode is absolutely beautiful. Looks great. Probably my favorite mode so far when it comes to the weather that's offered in the game. Overall, the patch is really good in my opinion. The game's got a long way to go, but it is showing a lot of promise. I'm going to link the patch notes down below so you guys can pick through them in your own leisure, because there's quite a bit there. And in true PUBG fashion, they never really tell you all the tweaks that they make, especially to the weapons. So when you grab your weapon for the first time, whether it's on test server or once this goes live, maybe you shoot off a couple mags or two before you get out into the crazy wilderness that PUBG has to offer. If you guys have any questions or comments, don't forget to leave them below. If you found the video useful or helpful or had a little fun, don't forget to drop a like. As always, guys, thanks for watching, hanging out, and we'll see you guys soon.